be talking to Gregory Tran, but Greg is for 2022. You were the #1 individual agent at the Southwest Market Center, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And Greg, I expect no less than the same for 2023. So that being said,
Yeah, yeah.
how's business pacing so far for 2023?
To be honest, man, it's pretty slow. I mean,
Yes.
I'm a fair amount behind where I was at this point last year. If
You
you
know,
want to put numbers on it, it's somewhere between 30 and 40% behind where I was last year.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. Someone asked me yesterday, and I looked at my numbers, and I think that I'm about 10 units behind where I feel like I need to be in
Mhm.
order to pace toward hitting my goal. But you know what? The year's not over, and for us fighters, I think it just means that here we go. Here we go. It's time to step it up. And um, so I won't belabor that point, but I know that you and I are not alone, because I see so many of my friends from here in the Dallas area and across the country that are chiming in, and the conversations I have with those guys are about the same. Very few on the call are pacing well ahead of their goal, but it is what it is. And again, the race isn't over. So again, Greg, thanks so much for honoring us with just a few minutes of your time today. There's so many accolades, many of them there were posted on Facebook. One, I love the amount of time that you spend I relaxing, call it self-discovery, spending time with family. Do I remember saying roughly about 2 months out of 12? Do I remember that?
That's honestly my goal is to get to where I'm taking off at least 2 months out of each year. It doesn't have to be consecutive, but
Yes.
I'd like to get there. Last year I didn't quite do that. I mean, total ended up probably being, we did one where I was gone for about 3 weeks and one where I was gone for 2 weeks. So it's a couple weeks shy, but I would really love to get to where I could take off 2 months comfortably.
I love that. I love that. I think many of us, I think we suffer with that, and we're not taking enough time to really relax and decompress. And we know how important it is in this business, because if not, burnout is a real thing, and fatigue, struggle. I know Austin is hot. We're dealing with record heat here in the Dallas area. I think today is supposed to be about 107, and I know, Richie, for you, I think, maybe in Arizona, those guys are used to severe heat, but we are too, but this is a little hotter than normal. So, but you know what? You just deal with it. We're not going to complain. So, um, Greg, I'm so interested, and I think the folks on the call today would be really interested in knowing your journey, not just to the top, but your journey just here where we find ourselves today. So why don't you speak on that for us?
Yeah, I'll try to give like the 5 minute version of my journey in real estate to where we are today. Um, I'll be perfectly honest in saying that when I first started in this business, I had no intention of ever actually selling real estate. The only reason I got my real estate license is because I was starting to invest in real estate, doing the typical kind of buy and hold thing. Had worked with an agent or two, and found that they weren't loving, showing me the kind of properties that I wanted to see. That this was back in 2011. I was looking at some real crappy like foreclosure type stuff that was quite cheap and not exactly close to the center of town. So I found that the agents, I'd be like, hey, I want to go take a look at this thing, and they'd say, I don't have that much time. Why don't you go like just drive it, walk it, and look in the windows, it'll be fine. And and so I ended up I had a lot of time on my hands, so I just got a license so I could show myself homes. Like I said, I never meant to sell real estate. That was the last thing on my mind. Uh, we've known each other for a little bit here, but you didn't know me back then, and back then, we probably would have never talked because I was I don't know if I could call it like socially awkward or what, but I was one of those people that that you know when you've got friends and you hang out with friends, I would like love them, love being with people. But if it was like with people that I didn't know or didn't already have a relationship with, man, I was like it was really hard for me to talk to people. So, to go from that into a business like this is just a little bit ridiculous. Um, but to move it along, look, I didn't mean to sell, but what happened was I joined KW. It was really just from from friends that recommended it, and I went to some of those classes that they had. There was a panel where this guy was talking about this business that he had built, and and that was like a big kind of moment for me because before that I didn't understand that real estate could be something where you could build a business. What I had in my mind was that real estate agents were just, like just one lady or guy driving around in a car with a bunch of manila folders all over the place, like the unsexiest, the thing that I definitely did not want to be. That's what I thought it was. And then when this guy started talking about his business, like it just really, I don't know, it lit something in me, and I thought, man, like that is something I would like to do. And and then from then on, I was like, okay, I'm going to build this business, but then if I'm going to do that, I probably need to figure out how to sell a home or two before anyone will come to work for me. And then so that's how I even started doing any kind of sales for other people.
That's not unlike many of us, right? I think everyone has a crazy journey, and I had no idea even when I passed the state exam what realtors did. That's how naive I was, because I had worked for a builder who built homes, and I thought that I would build homes. I didn't think physical, put the hammer in my hand, but I thought kind of from an architectural standpoint, overseeing, being a general contractor. I had no idea. So again, our stories are all uniquely ours. So thanks for sharing that. Um, from that to this, what does that look like? How does one get from that to where you currently are?
Well, so starting in the beginning, just like anyone else, just trying to scrounge whatever business I could and try to learn it. And I'll tell you, in the beginning, I learned that I was pretty good at doing the phone thing, which back then KW taught a lot of, right? It was like calling the expireds, it was drawings, and I was pretty good at like getting on the phone with people and convincing them to let me do an appointment. But like I said, I was pretty terrible at it. There's this one point where I set 20 appointments, went in 20 appointments, lost all 20 appointments, and I mean it was tough. It was tough to kind of go through that and kind of keep going. Um, but slowly built it up a little bit, and at some point, I think a few years in, I kind of figured out internet lead generation through Facebook, and and then that kind of took me from there's one year where I think I did 14 closes in a year, nothing spectacular. But then I figured out how to get these leads from Facebook ads, just from posting. And then I went from 14 in one year to the next year, I think I did 50 something deals. And then so that was like a big jump in my career. And when I did that's also when I started, hiring agents, building a big team. Well, what I considered a big team, which was me, three other agents. It was an admin. At the time, I can tell you my like KW heroes were, it was like Tim Heil, he was in our office. The Wendy Papazan, like all these people, like all they talked about was these big teams, right? So I was hiring like crazy. Um, Agents. I had, there was a point where I had like three or four ISAs in our like full time in our office. It was just it was this big operation, and we were selling, and frankly, net, I wasn't making an awful lot of money, and people were turning over left and right. But I was doing the team thing for really for years, and it just kept adjusting. Like maybe every 6 months or a year, it would look completely different. I would have the same number of people, but everyone there was 100% different from everyone who was there before. And I just kept like I kept hammering at it, like I was like I was like, something's wrong with me. Like, so I try to like fix myself. I try to like be a better leader. I tried to give more. And frankly, I just gave more and more and more. And I ended up with the same results, frankly. Um, but you know, did that for a while, and it wasn't until about 3 years ago. I think this kind of lined up with the beginning of the pandemic, when finally I was like on my last round of agents, and they had started to leave me like they always did, and it was down to me. It was down to me and two of my admins, and that's all it was. And I'd say that I was at like a pretty low point in the career. You know, like I'd been trying this and had been like somewhat successful for a couple of years, but it always like for me it just sucked. You know, like I was working more and more, not getting anywhere, and I was just constantly having the employee turnover, like and just felt completely lost. And and at that point, I mean, it was kind of lucky, but um my admin has had a maps coach for years now. She's had her own maps coach, and I'll credit this maps coach with the being the reason that the admin is still with me. She's been with me, like my admin's been with me for 5 years now. If it wasn't for me like making that one right move and getting her a coach, she would have left me years ago too, because I'm kind of a terrible boss. I've learned. But at this point I had stopped coaching. You know, I was, like I said, I was at this down point, and my admin's coach told her to ask me. She's like, "Hey, like, you know, do you think Greg might want to get back on coaching?" And my, you know, her name's Ray, is my admin, and she knew she had asked me a couple points before, because she's always trying to push me to be better. She's like one of those admins who's always trying to push me, like, "Hey, go lead gen, go do what you're." Because she's grown up in the KW system, she knows that what I'm supposed to be doing, and when she sees me like actively rebelling against all that, she knows like not good, but she also knows like hey, let's take it a little bit at a time. Um, so really both of them just caught me at this time when I was like I just needed something else. What I had been doing, frankly, wasn't working. I'd been spending at this point, I don't know, like probably 6 or 7 years in the business. Um, and a lot of that was like me trying to kind of pave my own path, like trying to do things my own way. Like I was kind of trying to do KW model stuff, but I was like, I can do it faster, I can do it better. You know, I was always skipping ahead, like hiring people, all of those things. And finally I was at this point where I was just like I give up, right? And so at that point, this coach entered my life at this point where once again I had given up, and I was just ready to listen, and I was open, probably for the first time in the entire career, and that's kind of when things got a lot better for me.
With all that being said, how that coach, and again, Carlos Herring is my coach out of Columbia and Miami. What was it? What was it that they said that really resonated? Again, you were in a place that you were ready, I think, now to listen and
Yeah.
just be compliant. Was there one simple thing or one certain thing that they discussed with you?
It was. I mean, she asked me, she said, "Look, you keep telling me that all you want from the business is more time, right? Like more time to hang out with your family, more time to travel, more time to do the things that you want." And I'm sure all of us are like that, right? We're like, what is you want? Well, I want more time to do this, and you know, I want freedom, I want flexibility, like all those things. That's like all I wanted. And she's like, "You keep saying you want this, but you haven't made any of, you know, like you keep making moves that take away your time, right?" You know, and I'm like, I I guess so. You know, like I mean, if you look, I mean, of course, hindsight's 2020, but yeah, like sure, okay, I'm doing all these things that have just taken away my time, and then she basically suggested that I try the showing assistant model, and I pushed back. Like I had previous coaches that said I should do that, and I always pushed back. I was like, you know, like it won't work. You know, like my clients, they want to see me, they want to talk to me. It just won't work. But then when she said that, I was like, you know, fine, I will give it a try, right? I'll try it for a couple months, and we'll just see how it goes. and that was the tactic that she told me that worked. But I think it's kind of the way she pitched it to me. You know, like coaches are usually pretty good at this anyways, but she had just this certain tone with me. You know, I'd actually talked to a couple coaches, and I picked her because she was the one who, when I talked to her, she scared me a little bit. And I was like, you know, like I think this is actually what I need right now is somebody who scares me enough to do what I'm not normally doing. So it was a combination of those two things, and once I started trying to showing assistant, that's like I said, that's what really kind of changed the business and the life for me.
Well, thank goodness she challenged you, because I think the same is true for my coach. I think I've had four different coaches, and I sought this guy out. One, because I respect him, and two, because I told him I need someone who's strong enough to challenge me and not be
Yeah,
intimidated by me. And thank goodness I feel like I've landed the right guy. We've been together now, I think November will be 4 years. So again,
yeah. Did,
sometimes guys
does
we
he still push you?
yes, yeah, matter of fact, our calls are on Tuesdays at 9 to 9:30. And so he does. He, you know, at times I tell him I love him and I hate him at the same time. You know, but it is
Yeah.
what it is. Uh, Greg, there was a question on one of the Facebook groups, I think yesterday, that said, how many times you know, have you wanted to quit this business? And I saw people chime in like 392. I've seen every day, because right now, again, our audience is a little shorter than normal, but um, how many times did you want to give up, um, and say, you know what, this isn't for me? Because again, what I want folks to hear is that you can't give up. You just don't give up. That's not in our vocabulary.
You know, no one's actually asked me that before, but I mean, now that I think about it, I mean, I don't think after the first couple of years were over, I don't think I've ever considered quitting. I mean, it's been hard the entire way, but I also know just what a gift this this industry is. You know, like I've seen it. Like I've seen what people can build with this industry. I've seen how someone like me can even build something like which sometimes is good, sometimes is bad, but overall is pretty good. And and I personally think it's just a gift that we can all be part of this. So yes, there are plenty of times when I'm like, man, this really sucks, or like I hate it, and I can definitely get negative about it, but I've never considered quitting. Like I really think that real like it may not always be real estate sales, but being in real estate, that's for life now. There's no question about that. So I'm gonna keep going. It's just that road might what it looks like might change down the road.
Yeah. Keep going. That's what I heard. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because I reflected back on my career, and I thought, you know, even when I started on this, it took me 7 months before I did my first deal. And yet I knew that I was moving in the right direction, even though I had left a really nice salary position. But I never thought about quitting or giving up. And I asked that because I saw that question yesterday on Facebook, and I thought, I've never thought about giving up. There have been times that I throw my hands up sometimes and I'm completely frustrated, but I've never thought about pushing this aside and doing something else, because I think this checks every box for me. So I appreciate you sharing that. I want to touch real briefly again. You'd mentioned when you had the ISAs, did those really
Hmm.
work for you? Was there a real return on the investment? Because I'm the one guy who I've tried once or twice, and
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's not worked for me. But again, that's me.
We can be very frank on this call, right?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so the ISA model, and also understand that there are different ISA models, right? So this is a few years ago, and I was kind of basing it off what Tim was doing at the time, because that's all I knew, and actually like most of them I had hired from when he had an ISA company and he was kind of like disbanding all the local people. Like I actually went into to their office and sat there and listened to all of them and started hiring all the people that he was letting go. So that's the kind of ISA model it was, and what we're doing is it was straight circle dialing. Like, these guys are in the office just on on a Mojo triple dialer, just dialing zip codes, basically dialing phone book stuff. And uh and it did work. It was great for our business. The only problem was it was horrible for the ISAs. It's an incredibly mind-numbing job, especially when they always talk about how you have to like set these standards of like how many calls they're supposed to make, how many appointments they're supposed to set, and of course I didn't really know like what it's supposed to be, so I only went off like what people told me. So we'd set these standards that frankly like were really hard to hit, and so these guys are in there just making these calls, getting rejected over and over and over for like 6 hours a day is what I think they're doing like on dial time, and in 2 hours would be like not dialing. But even 6 hours is quite tough when you talk about it. And and then what I found also is that they rarely got the rewards of what they had sowed. They had sowed the fields, but they rarely got to participate in the rewards, because how we had it was we would pay them a salary, but the bulk of the salary, the bulk of their compensation was supposed to be based on when things closed, right? But I didn't realize this at the time, but the runway was just much longer than expected. So what ended up happening is these guys would be there. I'd say the one who lasted the longest, I mean, she probably lasted like a year, maybe 18 months, but they rarely lasted more than like 6 to 9 months, because like I said, it's an incredibly tough job for most people. And they would get these nurtures that wouldn't be ready. And what I found that most of those turned into listings in like 2 to 3 years. So 2 to 3 years later, we had a ton of listings. Like we had so many listings that were all from these nurtures that these ISAs had sourced, but they had already quit and they're like long gone by then. So it honestly kind of sucked. Like I'm sure it was just like a faulty model. Like I said, it's not like I was the greatest leader back then either. But it was the whole thing was just disjointed in how it worked. So it was great for us, but not for them, and frankly, it wasn't great for me either. I mean, as a when you're running a team, and I mean when you have like people unhappy and people are like crying to you and you don't even know what to do. I mean, it's not a fun office to go to every day. So I haven't really gone back to that type of since.
All right. Good. Well, I'm glad you shared that, because I know I'm not the only one who's either looked at it or tried it. And again, I'm glad that you shared that. So I'm not sure if it's a model that I'll go back to, but
Yeah.
it works for many. And I know Sarah Reynolds and the Empowered Home team. I mean,
Mhm.
they've got an army. They've got an army of people, and that's their model. And but again, they're a large team, and I'm a one-man wrecking crew. So
I mean, talking about this, like a big lesson that I've learned here is just that there's just so many different ways you can do this and be good at this, and make a lot of money at this. There's there's just so many ways you can do that
mhm.
that that you can pick the one that works for you.
Amen.
I didn't realize this for many, many, many years. Like in the beginning, I was trying to kind of make my own path, even though like really it was just based on what everyone else had already done. I was just trying to do it in like a terrible way. Um, but in these last couple of years, I've realized it's like, wait a second, like I keep telling people they can do it however they want to. Like, why am I not doing that? So ever since I decided like I'm just gonna have the business that I want. Like I'm gonna try to work with people that I like, people that actually like me. I mean, God, like have you ever noticed how much more fun it is to work with somebody who actually likes you instead of somebody who like you just beat down their door until you like tenderize them enough so that they would like actually work with you.
And they
Um,
surrender. Right.
yeah, like you know when so we were talking about the ISA things. I had all these deals, and I thought there was something wrong with me because for the longest time we'd work with these people and I always be like, okay, we want to provide this amazing customer experience. We we communicate. We did like everything right. We were like amazing to these people, and 95% of them after the deal was done, they would never take my calls again. Even though like yes, they tell you you're supposed to follow up and keep that relationship forever, like it was very clear that once we closed, they never wanted to talk to me again. And I was like, man, like I know I'm awkward, but man, this is like, man, I am like a whole nother level,
Right.
right? And I always just thought it was something with what we were doing or me or something like that. And what I realized is this, like they talk a lot about in real estate, they're like, don't be transactional, be more relational. Um, and so you try to be relational on your part. And what I didn't realize is that these clients, they were actually seeing me as a transactional, right? Like the type of people who who listen to you because you've called them 8 million times. They're they see me as just that person that they can use to get their house sold. It's not like they want the relation with me either. So that thing goes both ways.
Wow. Wow. I I really appreciate, and I know my friends do, they appreciate your willingness to be vulnerable and open. And so and transparent. So thanks for that, because I think so many of us think that, you know what, we're not blowing smoke. This is who I am, this is what I've experienced, and hopefully someone else it'll resonate with someone. So thanks for sharing that. You know what, as we leave, is there something that I haven't asked you, or is there something else that you would like to relay over to us before you go?
Uh,
Outside, you're in the Austin Market Center. I think Christine has probably put your information there, because I'll tell you that if you've got someone who's looking in that Austin area, there is no one better um, uh, situated to serve your friends, your family, your clients at the highest level than Gregory Tran. So, Greg, I
Thank
appreciate.
you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see you guys put my contact info there. You can find me on, Facebook, Instagram, and any of those. Those are like good ways to connect too. I think that maybe just the last message that I'd want to leave you guys with is just something that Gary's told us plenty of times, and he talks. I don't know exactly how he puts it, but he says like to take the life you want and then build your business around that, and and that's something that really speaks to me now because before like I was very much like okay, business and then try to fit the life around that, but now what I do is it really is like, what is the life I want. I block those things and then I fit the business in where I can fit it. The business is not the top priority for me, and I understand that, hey, if I work more, like maybe I make more or whatnot, but in the end, like I care more now about my happiness than the numbers and the happiness of the people around me. Because when the people around me are happy, God, that makes my life a lot better, and that is really my top priority now.